welcome to Allshorts. And before I continue, I'm going to have to say, welcome to the Brexit, sir. Well, Brexit border checks are going to be imposed by the end of this year, apparently. Yeah, so the government announced yesterday. It's a bit concerning in some ways, although a necessity. I don't know how we're going to cope, to be honest, in the United Kingdom. How on earth are we going to be able to deal with all the paperwork involved, the bureaucracy involved? They say it's going to be digitised. That's what they say. But for it to be digitised, it has to be inputted first, which is bureaucracy. It pretty much starts on paper, you see. Yeah. We can't get our kids across the channel. They've been stuck in, well, coaches last weekend. Probably again this weekend as well. I won't be a bit surprised. Because they couldn't process them quick enough with the stamping of the passports and checking passports and whether or not 90, 180 days, etc. So our port security at the moment regarding inputs and outputs isn't, well, it's just not capable of dealing with demand. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it even worse. Yeah. So it won't be just people, kids stuck in coaches. It's going to be the lorries that are going to be held up. Yeah. And the cost of importing is going to go up. That's what I see. Which will mean inflation will increase. Food inflation especially is going to increase as a result of this announcement. They're saying by the end of the year. Yeah. So this is actually in the Sun, but it's quite interesting in some ways because some of it kind of tallies up with what Jacob Rees-Mogg was saying last year. Strange that. So yeah, post-Brexit checks on goods from the EU into the UK was announced after a delay. And it's a very long delay. 7 years since the vote, isn't it? It's a long time, isn't it? So what's been said is that the new border target operating model is going to be operated via their GVMS system, which is like the digitised import-export system for the United Kingdom. But there's also the URI number system as well. That thing is ridiculous. You have to have representatives in both in the EU and in the United Kingdom to try and facilitate this. It's a nightmare. I have actually uploaded a video about that before, including the government, the EU and the government training video, and I have to admit, it's going to be a nightmare. Because obviously there's language barriers and stuff like that. Now, the new border target operating model involving fewer checks, they say, and bureaucracy, and more digitisation. Obviously they're going to have to do that, but there's still going to be bureaucracy. Like I said, you still got to have, it starts from somewhere. Someone's got to enter the information. Now, it is back with more than 1 billion in funding. That figure, I don't know what it is, that figure. Yeah, well, it's been announced that 1 billion in funding has been announced to minimise trade burdens and maintain border security while remaining aligned with international standards. That figure, 1 billion. Well, that's what they say they're going to spend on improving systems. It's just a random figure, isn't it? It's just like pluck it out of the air sort of thing, Oh, that'll do 1 billion. That sounds impressive. But last year, do you remember this? Brexit border checks delayed again as Rees-Mogg admits they would cost £1 billion. No, he isn't even referring to the cost of implementing it. No, he's referring to the cost to businesses. That's what he was saying back then. Yeah, it's not the only time. It's been in various papers at the time as well, in The Guardian as well. Rees-Mogg set to delay post-Brexit fresh food checks for the 4th time. Yeah. Now, fresh food checks. Now, that decision hasn't really helped the United Kingdom. No. Because we haven't been checking imports of meat stuffs, etc. And a lot of that's been rotten. There's the cases of food fraud going on at the moment because food has entered the into the food chain in the United Kingdom that's actually rotting. Bacon, for instance, actually rotting. Pork and other meat stuffs. You see, ground beef. That's lethal. That stuff is, if it ain't frozen quick enough. It's going to be it's already started rotting basically. It's already started oxidising. So be careful when you get your burgers. When you have a beef burger, right? Be very, very careful. Because unless your beef burger is fresh, the likelihood is, if you're going for, oh, can I have a medium rare, please? Beef burger. Yeah, you're at risk of getting food poisoning. You really are. So, well done. Thank you. So, so that 1 billion figure, as you can see, it's comparable. Yeah. Now, I can see the whole thing falling over, like it did once before. When they tried to initiate these checks and what have you before with the chief system on inputs and also with the GVMS, the kind of that's in tandem, working in tandem with each other. But the chief system is so old and so patched. I've talked about this loads of times in older videos. It's so patched, it just can't cope with the demand. See, it's a system that was first designed and put together before we, it was ready for, well, it's about 30 years old. And it's there for the purpose of imports from countries outside of the European Union. Considering most of our imports were coming from the European Union into the United Kingdom, a lot of these, they just didn't have to deal with a lot. No. And it's patched to high heaven. So, we get updates and stuff, basically patching flaws and that in the software. So that's failed. So now we've got the GVMS system, which is supposed to overtake the chief system, but it was working in tandem. I don't know if it is now. Maybe someone can correct me, but it's it's a problem because that piece of software also had faults and it fell over the GVMS system. When they tried to instigate it the day after the Brexit transition period, people couldn't get, they couldn't log themselves in. They couldn't actually get past the stages to actually get all the numbers and what have you regarding the ORI numbers and all that sort of stuff. So it was a right old mess. So the government has delayed putting in place the checks 4 times, which are legally required under the Trade and Cooperation Agreement. The trade deal with the EU. The trade deal that really has helped, but we would have been better off staying in the EU. What say you? Leave it in the comments down below. So this is due to worries about port disruption they delayed, didn't they? Yeah. Every single time there's a holiday, there's port disruption. You just can't cope with it. You've got to think about it. Say, for instance, Dover Port, it is geographically constrained. You've got flipping great cliffs on one side and you've got sea on the other side and you're in this little tiny place, really. There isn't very much land there. And also access to the port is restricted. Has anyone been there to Dover? Because I have several times and it's like, you can see where the problems lie. How on earth are they going to improve it? Now, details of the new customs and regulatory processes have now been agreed by the government and are set to be introduced later this year and fully implemented by 2027. So there's a bit of a delay here. So they isn't quite so bad. Hopefully they can sort things out, but I can't see how they can. I really don't. When you talk about growth, you see, it's not just about, making it work for now. We've got to make it work for the future. Oh, I forgot. No, you don't in the United Kingdom. Because there's zero growth. Well, it's 0.4 or something percent or something silly. Our economy is performing worse than Russia's. It's not a laughing matter, really, isn't it? You could pull yourself out of a recession when, I know you say, we're not in a recession. Technically, you're not. But actually, practically, physically, common sense would say that you are. So, now none of these checks, additional checks, or controls in this particular model apply to imports into Northern Ireland from the European Union. So, okay, that's because of the Windsor Framework, what have you. The replacement for the, oh my God, Northern Ireland Protocol. So, I find this interesting, but also I'm a bit wary about it all because I can just imagine with, phytosanitary checks, all that sort of stuff coming into the United Kingdom. It needs to be done. That's the first thing they should be doing. They should never, ever said no to that. The idea, when Jacob Rees-Mogg decided that it was a bad idea to do checks, is madness. You're potentially going to poison your people. We can send you, from the EU, any old crap if we want. Rotten meat. And horse. Anything, I don't know. Wall lizards. Anything. You wouldn't know. And the food chain. I know some people say, well, I'm alright, Jack. I'm not sick yet. I'll be alright, you know. I just want my Brexit, they say, you know. So what do you reckon? Do you think they're going to be able to facilitate this? Do you think the timeline is long enough? It's not 2027, but they're going to start implementing it by the end of this year? And do you think £1 billion cost to do all this infrastructure that would be required to make this work is feasible? Especially when you consider how these Tories utilise the money. Cronyism. Too many people will take big wads of cash, such as Michelle Mone in the PPE. That was useless. You know, MedPro. Just... Would you trust a Tory with your money? We just had Scott Benton MP. Another one got caught on camera for scamming the taxpayer. Basically, using his position to facilitate, well, cash for questions or cash for entry into market. Just like Scott Benton and gambling. He got credits. 8 grand in credits. Apparently. Allegedly. And now casinos are being, apparently going to be built. As we saw. Something like that, anyway. But anyway, you tell me. Please leave it in the comments down below. And please, 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 boot the old like button. It's very much appreciated, you know. And maybe that little bell icon, because then you get one notification every time I upload another video in your sport channel. You do a Patreon or buy us a coffee, and the link's down below, and it is very much appreciated. It really is. I really could not do this channel without your support. No. Anyway, it's time for me to go and cry in my breakfast or something like that. Just, I don't know. Bang my head against the wall. Maybe. Just madness. Brexit, eh? Welcome to the Brexit, sir. That's what they say. Ta-ta.